What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Four Tires and Fuel podcast. I am your co host, Stephen Cherrick. I am the rear tire changer on the 38 truck for Lane Riggs. And I did Daytona with the rear tire changer on uh, what was his name? Blaine Perkins. That's who it was. I was the rear tire changer on Blaine Perkins' car on the 29 for Ryan Sieg Racing. And uh, doing a little bit of a solo episode today because Johnny is out doing stuff. And so I'm going to run this one solo. So, yeah, I'm going to jump right into it and get to Daytona. So, for the Xfinity race, we qualified, I think it was like 20th, something like that, 23rd, somewhere around there. Oh no, I'm sorry. We qualified like 32nd. But qualifying's a little iffy at super speedways because you can either have a car that's set up to draft or you can have a car that's trimmed out for single car speed. So it's like, where you start at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, even it really doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant to the end result because it's all pack racing and everything. So started 32nd and almost lost a draft in stage one, but Blaine kind of like fought through it and got around a couple cars that he needed to get around and caught back up to the pack and was able to hang on. And I think he finished stage one in 14th place. No, 13th place. So he finished stage one in 13th. We came down, put 4 tires on it, and I think we did. Oh, the setups are really weird at Daytona, so I think we did like 4 rounds out of out of both rears. So it was wild. So it didn't need to be a fast pit stop. It just needed to be all the tires tight, packed full of fuel, everything like that. So got that done and then went back out. I don't even think we lost anything on pit road because everybody does kind of the same thing. Went back out, just kind of rode around, tried not to get involved in anything. He kind of found out that the top lane was the preferred lane. So, everybody was trying to make moves and everything, and he kind of just stayed where he was and filtered us back up to the front, and we ended up finishing 13th in that stage as well. So everything was trending in the right direction. We were like, wow, this is actually pretty good. And he said that the car started getting tight, and it was making it to where he would have so much wheel in it through the turns that when he'd come off the corner, it'd be really loose because he's got the wheel turned so much to make it through the corner. So he was super tight. So our crew chief Steve decided to pull a Packer in both front shocks. And the Packers are just, the little spacers that limit the shock travel up and down. So if you pull one out, it makes it travel more. If you put them in, it travels less. So I think we've explained that on the show before. So just for all you new guys out there. So yeah, it pulled the Packer in both fronts and let the splitter come down, suck to the track a little bit better. Hopefully it wasn't going to get so tight. But it kept building tight throughout the race and put 4 tires on it, pulled 2 Packers, went back out there and kind of just rode around, and it was a lot of survival and just wait until the right time to either A, make the final pit stop, or B, go to the end of the race. Because I think we could make it to the end of the race from the end of stage 2. So, we were perfectly fine there. So we kind of just rode around, did what we had to do, and there was a big wreck at the end that took out like a whole bunch of cars, and thankfully, I don't know how, but Blaine was able to navigate through that and not get involved in that wreck, which was awesome because he missed it by like the skin of his teeth. And even the spotter came on the radio and was like, I I couldn't see you through the smoke, so I was hoping you were gonna use your best judgment. And he was like, "Nope, I'm all good." Didn't even slide the tires, so we didn't have to pit. I think we were inside the top 10 and, went through the rest of the race and tried to battle for what we could, tried to, help our teammate and use our teammate to get to the front of, Ryan Sieg, especially with him trying to be in a playoff battle, and, yeah, walked away with 14th, so, he was way too tight, so it was a little disappointing, but it was good that we were still in the fight. You know, he brought home a clean car, so everybody was happy about that because bringing home a clean car at Daytona's, you know how that goes. It's either you're involved in a wreck or you sit in the back and you don't get involved in anything, but you don't finish very well. So, you know, you kind of play that game back and forth of trying to, you know, be in the right spot at the right time. But yeah, 14th, not too bad. I told him he did a great job. Um, and yeah, he was happy that he was able to bring it home. He was a little disappointed we couldn't, you know, go up there and really fight for it, but happy for Ryan Truex getting his second win of the season. I think his fourth career win. So more power to him, dude. You know, we somebody needs to sign that guy. Like he's done these one-off deals with Joe Gibbs and 2 wins in 8 races this year. Like that's really, really good. He's a really talented driver. But yeah, then we had the old cup race. And the cup race actually okay. The cup race was actually like very good. Like I enjoyed this one. It wasn't, you know, they made stage 1 short enough to where they could make it all the way on the fuel that they started the race with. So everybody was just hammer down, get what you can get. You know, 2 races left before the playoffs, so you're trying to get all the points you can and, you know, trying to just do what you can to get as many points and finish as good as you can. So everybody was just going as hard as they could, and there was a lot of jockeying for the lead. There were guys that were, you know, coming and going, and it was great. And then, there was, Corey LaJoy. I think, I think it was in, like, 2nd stage, early 2nd stage. Uh, bad push, got pushed, something like that, and he caused a big wreck and, took out a couple good cars. Um, and then, you know, they went through and, I was kinda watching the 2 RFK cars since I work over there, trying to see where Busher and Brad were gonna go. But, yeah, I'd have to say probably the biggest concern is the cars flipping. It happened last week at, Michigan with, Corey LaJoy, and just car went, like, 45 degrees sideways, maybe not even, and that car blew over and was upside down. And, you know, cup race, we had the same problem this week, and NASCAR even tried to make it to where so when you look at the car down the left side, they have these clear fins, I guess you'll call them. It's like this clear piece of plastic that runs down the rear window and down to the spoiler, and it's to stop air from going when they spin left. It's supposed to stop the air from coming and getting the car airborne. It's supposed to stop that, all that, and it's supposed to help keep the cars on the track. And so NASCAR mandated that would they run one down the right side window as well. It was the first time they've done this. I guess they tested it and said it was going to help. And it did a little bit. So, I have the clip of Michael McDowell. He is this yellow and blue 34 car. This was his wreck at Daytona. So I'm gonna play it through and then we'll kind of discuss what was going on. So Michael McDowell coming through, takes a push, spins out, gets hit by Logano, almost flips, and just chaos ensues. This is coming to the end of the race. Everybody's pushing real hard. Everybody's trying to get themselves in the right spot to try and be ready for the finish of the race. But the biggest thing that I noticed is, so I'll play this at half speed from here. So he throws the block on the 2, and the 2 gives him a push, but he's not directly behind him. So right there, Michael McDowell is trying to decide what lane he wants to be in. Generally, the bottom is going to have the run through the corner. So he's trying to set himself up for the bottom. Well, the 2 is like, I've got to run, so I'm going to try and come around the top because you're leaving. Well, Michael McDowell decides he doesn't want to leave, so he starts coming back up because this lane has the push, and this lane is coming. So Michael McDowell tries to slide back up, and he gets hit by the 2, and it takes all the air off the side of the car, and it sends him around. And the big thing, the big note, is when he slides down the track, right there, he starts getting onto the apron. And my wife and I had a very good discussion about this when we watched it. And basically, the air is pushing this way on the car. So it's coming towards that passenger side of the car. And the air, he's hitting so the banking at Daytona is like this. This is the track, this is the apron. So when the car comes down, it's got a gap from where the splitter hits the apron to the track. And in that gap, there's air pushing underneath the vehicle. These cars also don't have side skirts. So the air is coming underneath the vehicle because that's what they want it to do, is go underneath the car, suck the car to the track. Well, when he's sideways, it's not doing it the right way. So the air's coming under the track. He hits the apron, which creates more of an air pocket. And at the same time he hits the apron, Joey Logano here has nowhere to go. He probably didn't even see it coming. Probably still full throttle. So he is trying to make it through the wreck. Michael McDowell comes down in front of him, packs more air than normal underneath the bottom of the car because he's on the apron. As Joey Logano hits him, sends the car airborne and almost rolls him all the way back across the roofs of every car that's in line. Thankfully, those 2 cars stayed connected. His car comes back down as he goes up the track, lands on the wall, and there's that. So basically, from what I saw on all the replays and the discussion with my wife and a couple other people, I've noticed that when it packs more air under the car, as soon as he got hit, it had all that air underneath it from that gap from track to apron. So when the car hit him, it packed all that air and it forced the car up in the air like this. And it rolled it this way and made it to where that car went airborne. I really don't think it was all circumstantial is how I feel and how my wife feels and how a couple other people feel. I think it was all a victim of circumstance. I think if Joey Logano would have hit him at when he was still on the racing surface, I think that car would have just they would have he had hit him in the door and they would have locked on and maybe went back up the track, whatever, but the car would have never tried to roll over Joey Logano's car like that. So, everybody keeps talking about like, Joey Logano complained about, "Oh, got to keep the cars on the ground." I agree. But when you go back and you look at the circumstantial the like, all the circumstances that went into that hit, it's all so coincidental, and it can all happen at any time. The speeds these guys are traveling, you saw it in the video, y when I paused it, you could probably count 20 cars at and they're all nose to tail like that, pushing as hard as they can. So, it can happen. It's what we watch for, not really what we watch for, but a lot of people watch it for the wrecks, I don't know why. But it's what people watch, it's what the drivers signed up to do, it's what the teams signed up to be a part of. Like, everybody knows the risk. So, we don't need to sit here and keep whining and crying about cars flipping when it's all stuff that is circumstantially happening. Like, all the everything has to fall in line for that to happen. So, but I agree, we gotta try and keep the cars on the ground, but I've talked to, multiple people, and I've said it once and I'll say it again. When you have cars traveling at 200 miles an hour, nose to tail like that, bumper to bumper, 30 cars in a pack, as long as cars have gone 200 miles an hour, cars have flipped. It happened in the 4th gen, the 5th gen, the 6th gen, the next gen. Like, every single body style of car that the Cup Series has had has flipped. There's been a flip. You can look it up. You can, you know, every single style of a NASCAR Cup car has flipped before. It's nothing new. So everybody is talking about safety and this and that. I talked to Michael McDowell yesterday. I was at front row yesterday and I talked to Michael McDowell. He's perfectly fine. He says he was a little shaken up. I think he said it registered 44 G's of force when Joey Logano hit him, which is a lot. Um, but he was perfectly fine. He didn't look like he had any bruising on his face. He didn't look like he had any, he wasn't walking with a limp. He might have a couple, bumps and bruises that are from being in a big wreck like that, but it's happened before. It's going to continue to happen. I don't think we need to throw the kitchen sink at this thing to try and get these cars to stay on the ground when it's not anything that is it's where the wrecks that you see have all the dominoes aligned for that car to flip over. Like, it's what it is. I think as long as Michael McDowell can take a shot like that and be perfectly fine the next day and the day after and the week after and is going to get back in the car at Darlington. Not even a medical, like, he needs to be observed kind of thing was released. Like, he is racing this weekend. Like, that's what it is. This happened Saturday night. He's getting back in the car on Sunday. It's or Saturday for practice, I guess you could say. But cars are going to flip when they go 200 miles an hour. I don't think we need to make a big deal about this. I think the way everything happened was bad and made it look worse than it actually was. But moving on to the other main incident from the race was another flip that happened in the race. So we're going to walk through this one and I'm going to let this one play and then we'll talk about it and we'll discuss it. So this car right here is the one. This car on the outside, first car on the outside is the one that we're going to watch. Oh, by the way, this is with 2 laps to go in the race. So again, everybody's pushing hard. Everybody's trying to get to the win. Okay. So that one looked a lot worse than the first one because he flipped upside down, landed on his lid, and he slid all the way into the wall. So going back, and we will take this one at the same point that we talked about the other one. So they're coming off the corner, and this guy right here, this black and orange car, that's Kyle Busch, comes off the corner. Maybe he was a little tight. Maybe his car got loose. He's got Cody Ware behind him. Actually, he's got Christopher Bell behind him, pushing for all he's worth. And behind Cody Ware, or Christopher Bell, is, I don't remember who actually was back there. Okay. So it's Kyle Busch, the 20 of Christopher Bell, and then the 3 of Austin Dillon. So they're all pushing real hard. So it moves Kyle up the track. They side draft each other, and then they hit again, and the 24 hits the 4 with probably a bad push. Probably everybody's, again, 2 laps to go in the race. Trying to get to the checkered flag. Bad push, sends the 4 sideways into the 2. They come down the track. And as you can see right here, both cars are wanting to lift off the ground. So basically, the air is pushing right here on this roof flap, which is going to deploy the diffuser flap because that roof flap controls that diffuser flap. So when the car gets sideways, both cars go up in the air. And we're going to slow this one down to half speed here. So basically, they hit each other, and the air kind of hits this 2 car and kind of just rumbles around underneath the car. So if you watch it again, they both went up in the air, and the air that was hitting the 2 car had nowhere to go, so it kind of just bounced around underneath the 4 car and created an air pocket, more air underneath the car. So then they hit a little bit of a bump, and both cars, the 2 car had no air on the front of the car. The 4 car has a lot of air underneath his car. So his car takes flight. And you even saw the 2 car still trying to rotate over. But watch the 2 car. As soon as that 4 car gets out of the way and that 2 car is clear, boom, his car snaps right around. He's got his wheel turned to the right. So he is pushing into the right or the left side of this 4 car, trying to get his car back straight. So he's pushing back here when they actually start to wreck. He's pushing this car. He's trying to get his car this way. He's got his wheels turned to the right. His car is trying to snap back around because the roof flap's slowing it down, diffuser flap slowing it down, and Josh Berry's car is blocking all the wind. So he's turning into Josh Berry's car. Josh Berry's car is just along for the ride. All the air gets packed underneath. They hit a couple bumps. Next thing you know, there's more air, more air, more. Oh, that's a lot of air because he flips over. So then Josh Berry blows over. 2 car gets all that air on the nose, gets back straight. And look, he's even over rotated because he was turned so far to the right. 4 car, he goes upside down. Then he slides on his lid. And since he can't slow down, slams into the wall. Huge hit. Like, take nothing away from the hit. Gigantic hit because it was insane. Because it's he's still traveling at probably 160 miles an hour when he hit that wall. So, one of the things is circumstantial. I think if this 2 car wasn't there and it was just the 4 car would have got spun, he'd have probably, bounced around a little bit, but I think he would have straightened it back out. He would have been fine. But with this 2 car blocking the air and forcing it underneath his car, the air hits his car, comes back, and now there's air trapped going both directions underneath that 4 car. So what happens when you have a high pressure and a low pressure? Creates a tornado, right? Yeah. Okay. So I think that's why that car flipped over. Again, they have the shark fin on the right side of the car and on the left side of the car. So there's 2 shark fins coming down, but everybody wants to point out these wrecks and say, "Oh, it didn't do anything. It's the NASCAR needs to make it safer. NASCAR needs to do this. NASCAR needs to do that. Blah 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 blah." As long as cars are going 200 miles an hour, cars are flipping over. It is what it is. It's the danger of the sport, nature of the sport. That's what happens. I'm sorry, it's cut and dry. I don't want cars to flip over. I like all the drivers that race. I've talked to a lot of them. I've pit for some of them. I want cars to stay on the ground. But this is the risk that we play with. It's like when you play with a lighter and next thing you know, you burn yourself. It's the risk you take. So, anyway, moving on to the actual finish of the race. Congratulations to Harrison Burton on getting his first Cup win. Wood Brothers 100th Cup win. It was awesome to see his dad call the race that he won. So I know that makes it more special. But yeah, so he is very special moment. But the bigger outlier of the whole thing is where he was located in points prior to Daytona. He was last out of all the full-time cars. I get it. But with the system that we have in place, you win a race, you go to the playoffs. Doesn't matter where you're running. If Justin Haley would have won that race, which he almost had a shot for, he would have been in the playoffs. Kyle Busch, 20th in points, does not deserve a playoff spot, but nobody would have bat an eye if Kyle Busch would have won that race. Kyle Busch has not run well enough to compete for a championship this year. Neither has Austin Dillon. I get that his move was very egregious, and that's why they took the playoff implication away from him. So I get it, but Kyle Busch, Harrison Burton, not going to run for a championship. But with the system that you have in place, this is the result that you get. This is what NASCAR wants. This is what they've created this system for. So I think for a while it's time for a change. I think we need to implement top 25 in points, top 30 in points, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't think we should put so much emphasis on winning one race. You look at some of the guys that have a win, like Daniel Suarez, won Atlanta. Hasn't really done anything the rest of the year. Like MIA. Brad Keselowski, he's shown here or there. Do I think he's going to run for a championship? I hope so, but I don't know. When you have guys like Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, that are consistently every single race running in the top 5, competing for a win every single race. You can't be a flash in the pan. And those guys that have one win, they were a flash in the pan. Brad had a really good car at Darlington, won that race. Daniel Suarez, it was a super speedway race, won that race. Harrison Burton, super speedway, won that race. I don't even know who else has another win because I can't even remember them. So it's those guys that have one win that aren't gonna do anything in the playoffs. It's one of those. I think we should take the top 10 in points. Those guys guaranteed because they've run well all year long. So that's how I feel about it. That's my take on it. Let me know in the comments what you think. I will defer with Johnny, confer with Johnny, and see what he thinks, and we'll let you know next week. But yeah, so that was Daytona. Then there was one more race, one more. It was a truck race at Milwaukee. So they ran the truck race at Milwaukee on Sunday. First race of the playoffs. They did the same thing last year. I think it was the second race of the playoffs. It was not the first. I think IRP was the first, and then the second race was Milwaukee. So I was pitting Lane Riggs there. Um, eighth fastest in practice, and he qualified 16th. He said he got too loose off of through 3 and 4, and it kind of messed him up on his hot lap. So they felt like they had a really good truck in race trim. So it was kind of just, we're out of the playoffs. We're not running for a championship. So we're kind of just, let's build for next year. And so Lane starts 16th, quickly drives up to the top 10. And he drove all the way up to 8th. And then at the end of stage 1, he lost 2 spots. So he finished stage 1 in 10th. So we come down pit road, and the crew chief's like, all right. He said something about being too tight, I think. So we were like, all right, we're going to go 2 up track bar. So we do 2 up track bar and 4 tires. And oh my God, we gained 6 spots on pit road. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. So we gained 6 spots on pit road. Now he's running 4th. So we're like, okay, we got a shot at this. This could be the one. So we run stage 2, and he runs 3rd the whole stage. And at the end of the stage, he started reeling in and running faster lap times than the 2 guys in front of him. So they kind of talked on the radio, and they were like, "Hey, we need this pace to come in faster." So we, made an adjustment to, do to try to help the long run car, but to have it come in a little bit faster. So we come down 4 tires. Uh, we did track bar again. I don't remember what it was. But we came in 3rd, and we left 2nd. So we gained another spot on pit road. And we were like, we were kind of, us guys behind the wall were kind of like, all right, there's still like 60 laps to go. We're 2nd. That's cool. So we're kind of like watching our pit stops back. And then next thing you know, we look and we're like, hey, we're in the lead. Like, oh, okay, we're in the lead. We know we have a good long run truck. We know at the end of a run, we can run faster than the guys behind us. This is going to be a good show. So they take the restart. Lane kind of runs up the 98 a little bit. But the 98 ran us up the track a little bit in a different part of the race as well, is what I was told. So Lane was kind of just, we're not, we're not racing for a championship. So are you want to throw away your playoff thing fighting with us for one spot? Like, so be it. But I mean, I'm all for it. Like, show a little aggression, flex a little muscle. Let's see what we got. So he takes the lead, wrestles it away from Ty Majeski, and never looks back. He led, I think, all but like 2 laps of stage 3. I think he won by like a second and a half. And then, yeah, it was awesome. And uh, he ran away with it. You know, Ty Majeski would catch him a little bit, and then, uh, he'd fall back, and then he'd catch him a little bit, and then he'd fall back, and, it was kinda like a little bit of that. So, I'm trying to find I should have already had this. Um, but yeah, so it was cool to watch, it was great to be a part of, and got his first win, and, it was just I won there last year with, Grant Enfinger, and that one was awesome. And we were in the playoffs, moved us to the next round of the playoffs. It was great, we dominated that race, but this one was a little bit different just because of the fact of, you know, we didn't really dominate the race, we kinda just we took it over, and we forced them to play on our level, and it was great to watch, it was great to be a part of, I loved it, it was awesome. Then the celebration happened, and this is probably what happened that everybody remembers. So, I'll let it play out, and we'll talk about it in a second. So Lane has had issues with his shoulder, dislocating, and he told us about it. He told us basically, if it happens, just pull on my arm, let me pull against you, it'll pop back in place, we'll be good to go. He's up on top of the truck, and he's celebrating his heart out, and he's pumping his fist, and he throws his shoulder and dislocates it. And right there, instantly, he grabbed his shoulder, and I was like, I'm standing there, and we're running to the truck, and I'm like, oh my god, he just dislocated his shoulder. Like, how am I gonna get him off the top of the truck and back onto the ground so we can work on him? So he turns around and he looks at us, and right there, he's got this agonizing look on his face, and I'm like, "Oh my god, he's in pain." And so I'm eh, like, come here," and he thought we were still, like, trying to celebrate with him, and he's like, "My shoulder, my I was like, "I know, come here, I need to get you off the truck." So we get him down off the truck, and then, you know, your boy, "Hi, how you doing?" Your boy we get him down and I'm like, "What do you need?" And he's like, "Grab my arm." So I grab his arm and he starts pulling against me. And, our carrier, Alvin, he's pulling Lane and holding him up and trying to, let him do what he's got to do. And I'm holding his arm. And, you know, I'm holding it and we try it once and it didn't work. And he readjusts and he tries it again. And then it goes into place. And right there, I look at him and I'm like, yo, it popped, it popped. I felt it pop. It was weird. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I felt it pop, it was weird, and I'm like, "Dude, it popped, it popped." And then he kinda, like, looks at it, and I look at him, and I'm like, "Dude, are you good? Are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then he's like, "Yeah!" And then I get all excited, and I'm like, "Yeah!" And, like, it was awesome. And, a lot of people like, he was embarrassed in the moment and thought it was like, "Oh, this idiot throws his shoulder out," but, like, he's embraced it, and definitely it's definitely one that's gonna be remembered not only for his first win, but this as well, and it just makes it to where you're never gonna forget it, and it's awesome, and I'm so happy I was a part of it. I love that I got Lane his first win. Uh, all these guys here, all these guys in this picture deserve this win. We've all worked so hard, we've overcome a lot this year. We may not be in the playoffs, but we're ready. We're ready and we're on kill mode. So we're building to next year. So you you better watch out in 2025 because Lane Riggs is going to be someone to mess with. So, yeah. So we go to Victory Lane. You know, we do, take pictures with hats and, you know, my first win when I won there last year, the race was the Clean Harbor 175, and I got this red hard hat for the Clean Harbor company, and I still have it. It's in my room. And this year it was I don't even know how you say it. Liana, I think that's what it is. Liana 175. And they're a construction company, so I got another hard hat. And my wife's like, "Why do you always win all the races where you get the hard hat?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna keep getting them." So, like, we did all that. We took pictures with the trophy, and took a picture with Lane. And he wanted to take a picture with us because he knew that, like, without us getting all those spots, he probably wouldn't have been able to get the win. And it those guys build such fast race trucks that they don't deserve to not be in the playoffs. But it was awesome. I loved it. We went to the lunch yesterday for, front row, and, it was great. Talked to Lane, Lane, the team, everybody gave us a lot of praise for getting all those spots on pit road, but, it goes back to when they build fast trucks like that, you wanna perform at your very best. You don't wanna leave anything on the table because you know that if you left something out there, that's the difference between winning and losing. If you don't go out there and you don't give it all you've got every time that truck, car, whatever comes down pit road, then why are you even out there? So I always give it all I've got every time I do a pit stop because you never know who's watching. You're always trying to be on your best. And you never know what can happen. We went to victory lane because we were all at our best, did our jobs at a very high level. I think we had Dylan told us, I think we were the fourth fastest pit stop, like single pit stop throughout the race. And we were like second or third fastest overall throughout the whole race. Top three, top five on pit road every single week when this truck comes in. Like, we're showing that we can fight with these big dogs like Grant and Fingers pit crew, um, Corey Himes pit crew, uh, and Christian Eckes pit crew, Dylan, Daniel Dye's pit crew, like all those guys that are in the playoffs, we can fight with those guys because we know we can. We've done it all year. We've shown flashes of it, and we're ready now. Like, we are ready, and we're going to Bristol next, and we're going to get another win. I can feel it. It's that, like, we're going there to win the race. So it's awesome. I love it. The experience was great. The team's been great. Um, yeah, so I can't wait to go back to victory lane. So yeah, that's how my weekend went. And it was very exciting. It was very fun. Um, had its ups and downs. But yeah, so now we move on to Darlington this weekend for Truck and Xfinity, or I'm sorry, Cup and Xfinity. And yeah, this is the final race before the playoffs for the Cup Series. There is a huge battle going on at the cut line with Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, and Chris Buescher. The four of those guys are going to be fighting hard, trying to get every stage point they can get. And I know Ty Gibbs was really fast in the spring when we ran there. Bubba Wallace is usually pretty good there. Ross Chastain was someone to mess with last year, I hear, in this race. So, Buescher almost won it earlier this year. So it's kind of like everybody right there. Those four guys, everybody's got a shot. So we're going to be looking at that. It's the Southern 500 throwback weekend. Love it. Um, and yeah, a lot of tire wear. I think the team's got 13 sets for this weekend, which is a lot of pit stops. Every time the caution comes out, you're coming down pit road, putting 4 tires on it. You're not taking 2, you're not taking fuel only. You are putting 4 tires on this thing every single time. So those guys on pit road need to be ready because this is when you come to Darlington. Every time anybody you ask on about Darlington, they'll tell you a lot of pit stops. Every time caution comes out, you're pitting. So it's going to be fun to watch. I will not be pitting anything, unfortunately. But I am going to be there at Darlington with my son. Him and I are going to watch the race from the stands. It's his first ever Xfinity race. He got to watch a truck race. Got to watch me pit a truck 2 years ago at Charlotte, and now we're going to Darlington for his first Xfinity race. He's seen an ARCA race, he's seen a truck race, and now he's gonna see the Xfinity race. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Him and I are gonna enjoy it. So I hope to see you guys there. But yeah, for Xfinity, I think Chase Elliott is running in this Xfinity race. It's gonna be good. The Xfinity series always puts on a good show when they go to Darlington. The biggest hindrance for pit road is we talked about it earlier this year. You got like I think it's like 5 or 6 pit stalls that are like on an island by themselves at the entrance to pit road. Then there's Victory Lane. Like Victory Lane separates all the pit stalls. So you got these 4 to 5 pit stalls by themselves. Then you got Victory Lane, and then you have the rest of the pit stalls. It kind of curves a little bit at the beginning. It's very sandy there. The driver can slide the tires really easily, miss pit stall, whatever. Pit road entrance is one of the sketchiest I've ever seen. And it's super hard to get on pit road. So the drivers have to pretty much, when they're going down the backstretch, they have to be like, okay, I'm going to pit road and commit to going to pit road, not go sailing it off into turn 3 because you're going to miss it. It's not like every other track where you can go through 3 and 4, and as you come out of 4, you're like, okay, I'm going to pit road and kind of make it. It's you got to commit from the backstretch. But yeah, it's I mean, it's got a little curve to it. It's a little bumpy, sandy. Drivers can slide through the pit stall. But that's pretty much it. I mean, when you pit there once, you've more than once, you've pit there 1,000 times. So you get used to it. But yeah, hopefully the Xfinity series puts on a great show like they always do. I'll be in the stands watching, cheering. And then the cup race, it's gonna be a bloodbath because it's gonna be an awesome race to watch. It's gonna be great to just kick my feet up and be glad I'm not a part of it because it's gonna be a lot of coming and going and strategy playing out, and I think it's gonna be great. So it's gonna be exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. After Darlington is Atlanta, I think. But yeah, Atlanta. Um, so yeah, we'll get back with Johnny next week and get him to give us a little insight on what he was up to this weekend. And why he wasn't able to show up. But yeah, I figured I'd record it anyway, even though Johnny's not here. Hopefully my voice isn't too dull and annoying for everybody. Hopefully, we can go back and we can look at these this video and we can all learn something from it. I know I did a lot of research into those those spins and flips and everything, and I watched a lot of videos and in-car cameras and stuff like that to try and break it down the way I think it happened. Um, do I actually know how it happened? I have no idea. But from what I saw, from what I could tell, that was my analysis. Um, but we move on. We go to Darlington, and hopefully we can all put on a good show. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And yeah, we we'll reconvene after Darlington, and we'll let you know what's going on. And till next time, you guys be good.